here, and then we'll go across.
Even also 19.
Oh, right. Let's give another round of applause for the 19-year-olds. Good job, yeah.
Currently managing a whole bunch of short-term rental properties, helping with underwriting, managing a few properties in Maryland, Ohio, and looking to expand here in Utah.
That's great.
Welcome.
Awesome. Very nice. Tyson Kohler. So I own a national credit repair firm. We deal a lot with the door-to-door space, but we're branching into mortgage. Actually know Dylan fairly well, worked with the Lunetic guys for a bit, but real estate rookie looking to get into it, and it's a good place to be.
Thanks for coming.
Yep.
My name is Dan Bright. I've been a residential remodeling contractor for the past 20 years. Dabbled in real estate off and on way too much. Now it's time to really dig in and get it going. So just looking for fix and flips and some wholesales and all sorts of different stuff. So
No more dabbling?
no more dabbling.
All right. All right. Andres, right? You got your little mate right there? Yeah. Yerba mate? That's classy, everybody. That's what's up.
So I'm from Argentina. I'm Andres. I'm 27 years old. I'm wholesaling. I founded the market. I think we are doing wholesaling right now. Everything that you needed, we are here to help. And I was talking with Dan. Any goals that you have, I'm happy to discuss about them and see how I can add value to you and make you achieve your goals. So
Awesome. Welcome. Love it.
Daniel Holbrook. I'm a commercial real estate appraiser. For my day job, I appraise all over the Rocky Mountains in Florida. And I've also invested for 12 years, some in Utah, some in Wyoming, some in Florida, and just want to find more single family, multifamily, and even commercial deals to do.
I need a phenomenal.
Okay.
There you go.
And I'll buy it.
It's good time to buy.
You just let me know.
Right?
You just let me know.
Commercial real estate is so slow.
Really?
No refinances, hardly any purchases. So yeah, good time to go hit up those listings and say, do you want to sell in 2 years or today at this price?
I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that too.
There you go.
You know, that's interesting. Go ahead. Introduce yourself and what you're here for. Cool. All right. I think Cody can help out. He's going to talk today about getting into real estate and what he's doing. I don't think you need to introduce yourself because you're going to come up anyway. So everybody, thanks for, let's get him back here. Go ahead.
What's up, guys? My name is Chris Pang. I work with Cody over at Joe Homebuyer. Started with him a couple of years ago doing joint venture. So working with a lot of people like you guys, wholesalers, agents, just people looking to, move deals with us using leveraging our buyers list. I'm now doing rental and flip acquisitions in North Carolina exclusively.
Amazing. Well, again, I appreciate everyone being here. And let's get Cody up here, everybody. Let's give him a round of applause as he makes his way up.
This is not alcohol. I have to forewarn people because I get asked for my ID when I buy it. It's just
You get ID still?
It's the craziest thing. They're like, you need ID. I'm like, for what?
Yeah,
Like,
put
for your
that on
alcohol.
that
I'm
nice
like,
little
that's
bottle.
not alcohol. That's sparkling water.
And for everybody that's live, thanks for being live. Cody, you know Cody's about to tell you this. Let's go.
Just right here.
And wherever you want. Yeah,
Okay.
That's perfect.
Good.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, Liquid Death. If you're a sparkling water person, it's not an energy drink. There's no caffeine, but it got me off pop. That was how I got off soda.
That's so best.
So it's really, really good. Their marketing's spot on. This one, because it's Liquid Death, think about it. This one is a berry flavor, and they call it Bury It Alive. I like that. Their peach tea is Rest in Peach. Their green tea is Grim Leafer. There's some good marketing. All right. Let me just get a feel for it. So how many have done a deal? Okay. Mixed bag. I like that. Something different that I may want to give you a different approach. I think sometimes we look at what's the killer marketing piece or what's the killer negotiating strategy? How do I find this off-market property? How do I get to the seller as quick as possible that's motivated and that is going to turn into a contract? And I'll tell you, there's so much good content. Nathan puts out a ton of great content. YouTube puts out a lot of great content. Now, there's going to be some that's just mixed opinions, right, of how they attack it. I will tell you, don't focus so wide at the beginning. So just to hit this before I go on the message, don't go wide. Don't go like, I need 10 marketing channels. At some point, you're going to want to diversify so you can get that roller coaster out of the system, where most people are like, I did a deal this month and this month I didn't. Usually I can break that down. So I'm the co-founder of Joe Homebuyer. We now have about 85 franchise owners across the nation. So we're really tapped into real time what's going on across the whole nation. We know exactly what's going on real time. That's another reason why we love franchising models so much, is because we're tapped into the same database. And so as I'm seeing homes go under contract nationwide from all of our franchise owners, I'm really able to tap in and say, okay, what's the marketing piece? What's the messaging? What is the age of the homeowner? What's the age of the home? What is the motivating factor behind it? And it helps us dial in better on what list should we pull, what marketing piece should we do. And so we're always staying ahead of our competition just already from just data alone. How many felt the shift that's been in the game for a while, felt the shift in the buyer's market? Like the cash buyers that are on your list, and all of a sudden it was like, there's the fight and flight, and then the third F is freeze, right? And they froze. It didn't mean they didn't have money. It just meant, do I want to deploy my money with this circus that's going on in our nation with inflation and interest rates and everything else, right? So we had to pivot. Now, we knew about this in February of 22. We have a gentleman that sits on the board of Joe Homebuyer that is an extremist when it comes to reading the economy. So in February of 22, he comes to and says, there's going to be a drastic shift Q4 in 22 where the buyers are going to shut off, like it's going to be cold turkey overnight. And it did. It was fourth quarter. It came. We were already making the pivot, though, and testing what would be the new model in February prior to that fourth quarter. So we already had practiced and learned everything we needed to do so that when that fourth Q4 hit, we were ready. We were still moving deals when everyone's like, oh, man. I mean, there's a lot of the competition got knocked out. This is a good thing. So if you're like, oh, man, is this good time to get in? Heck, yes, it is. Competition's low right now. And if they're there very part-time. And part-time in real estate gives you part-time results. I want you to write that down, or at least put a brain tattoo on you of part-time effort gives you part-time results. If you're not into this full-time, it will eat you up and spit you out. Because there's so many people that are dedicated to do this full-time that just will have the competitive advantage. So that's one thing I'll teach you. Let me teach you a couple books that will help you, because I'm going to go more on this mindset of what's the difference between those that are winning and those that are just kind of, floating through. Maybe they're burning the candle at every end. So it's crazy that I'm going to share with you 3 books. You're like, what does this have to do with real estate? Let me start with this quote, and that is Jim Rohn. He says, rarely does a man or woman's income exceed their level of personal development. So let's think about that. Let's break that down for just a second. What does it mean? Rarely does a man's income or woman's income exceed their level of personal development. Meaning, if we want to be millionaires, you can go through it like most people do in life and just go chase the $1 million. And that's going to be a long race, a race that never ends. And if you can think about just the thought of even jogging a marathon, just destroys me. I'm like, I don't know anyone that loves marathons. Now, you marathon runners, you can love it. For me, it's not me. I'm like, I can't even fathom wanting to run whatever it is, 24, 25 miles. I just couldn't fathom that. Well, think of now, after the 24 miles, you're still going forever. That's this chase of this $1 million where you can just become someone better each and every day. If you'll work on yourself each and every day, if you will take to heart personal development and become someone better each and every day. Nathan, you pound this. I love this. There's not many people that pound this. Money follows you. The byproduct is we're always looking for A players. How many have heard you've got to hire A players? We hear this all the time. This is like the standard. You hire A players. If you're a C leader, good luck keeping an A player. A players are looking for A leaders. And so that's why we have to become better each and every day so that we're attracting A talent as well. Hope this is all adding up. This is the truth in life. When I was a C leader, I attracted C talent, and then I'd have to let them go because I'm like, man, they're just not closing. Until one day I looked in the mirror and realized, no, it's just a mere product of who I am. That closer was just me. I attracted someone who I was at the time. So I had to get better. I had to work on myself and commit to personal development. So here's 3 books that will help you that are on my top 5. So there's other books out there, but Atomic Habits, James Clear. Atomic Habits is amazing. This is how do we continually stack wins with these daily habits, and they don't need to be big. We learned from Darren Hardy in the compound effect. It's just small but simple, consistent action that delivers big results. It's not one big thing. It's not two big things. It's many little things leading up to big results. So you don't have to do big things. The Rhythm of Life, Matthew Kelly. This one, what's even more profound about this author was 24 years old when he wrote this book, and you're going to be blown away how much this guy knows at 24 years old. Like, I thought this was a 60, 70-year-old writing this book. 24 years old. So keep that in mind as you read it. You'll be like, how does a guy even have this kind of knowledge? The third one is the 5 a.m. Club, and that's Robin Sharma. He's actually a personal friend and mentor of mine. He has sold more than 20 million copies of just that book alone. The person that's willing to win their morning will win their day. This is huge, but a good morning routine starts with a good evening routine. So if you're a midnight owl, you're probably not going to have a great morning routine. And so people are like, well, that's just not me. Just check your habits. Where are your habits doing? Are your habits late night? Okay. It's the habits that you're doing that make you not a morning person. You can be a morning person. It doesn't mean you have to get up at 5 a.m. That's what the book's obviously about, right? But his process for winning the morning is only an hour long. He breaks it up in 3 stages of 20, 20, 20, 20, and what you do during those 20 minutes. And we can tap into that a little bit if there's enough time. So the 5 a.m. club. So if you're waking up at 7, wake up at 6. Just wake up an hour earlier. Win your morning, win your day. That's a promise. I would not be who I am today. I would not have been able to do the businesses that I'm involved in, that I own. There's no way that we'd have over 80 franchises in Joe Homebuyer. We own a digital marketing company. This year alone, I have actually partnered with Chris. Chris is a partner of mine. He runs all the rentals. So how many, and you would know the numbers specific. We're closing on 5 more next week. What are we at year to date from January 1 to today in acquisition for rentals for me and Mark personally?
Well, January is when we started figuring out what we're going to do, right? From the moment that we started buying properties, which was March, I believe.
Yep.
To today, we'll be at 41 doors.
41 doors. So I'm going to add 41 doors to my portfolio this year alone. Me and Mark, we partner on all the businesses that we own. We actually grow this empire together. But 41 doors. Why do we do that? I think the trick is most people look at cash flow. It's like if you can get $300 a door cash flow times 41, oh man, that's cool. Every single month that check's coming in. They're paying your rent, and this is or you're paying your mortgage. But then I don't do it for the cash flow. That's just the gravy. That's like part B. When you have working capital, where you have your businesses paying you X amount of dollars a year, this is how you preserve your wealth. So last year I paid $0 in taxes. This year again, I'll pay $0 in taxes. It's the greatest thing in the world. So it's better than cash flow. Because if you times 41 times 300 a door, what is that for quick math? What is it? 12,000? Okay. So 12,000 times, let's say times 12, you're at 124? 144? 144. My math's that bad. 144. Okay. That's awesome. But what if your tax bill is 250, 350, 400,000 a year, and you pay $0 in taxes? That gets really attractive really quick. So rentals have an awesome byproduct other than just cash flow. Cash flow is fantastic, but preserving your wealth from all your working income, even better. So really fun stuff. Okay, so let's talk about the 4P model. This is something I'm passionate about. Let's break down what the first P is. We got to kind of go through this quick. What time do I need to be done by, Nathan? Okay. Shut me off when I get long-winded, guys. I'll go as quick as I can because I want to respect your time. Purpose, this is the first P. So this is a model I personally came up with. Me and Mark were just sitting there and looking at, okay, and I would challenge each of you, like, this goes the same with anything in life. If you're going to be here, I want something that's not a rah-rah. I don't just want to like cheer you up where you're like, man, that was really cool what he talked about today. And then there's zero activity afterward, right? You're here in motion. Like this is the motion that we do. We need to come to like meetups. We need to network and we're now in motion, but I don't want to fuse you with it, that's the action. Like the action is physically picking up the phone and dialing the seller and having a cold call moment where you're talking to someone. That's the actual action that will lead to a contract. This doesn't lead to contracts. This is just, it puts me in motion to take the action. So I also want to give you some breakaways where you're like, I'm going to go home after this and here's the action I'm going to take as a result. For your purpose, why do you win? And I want you to write this down, this question. I want you to spend time, spend like 5 minutes, spend an hour, however long you need, and just write this simple question. Why do I win? What is it that makes you win? What is it about your character that makes you win? Me and Mark came up with 4 H's. We wanted to keep it simple. We wanted to be something that we could like brain tattoo, memorize really quick. The first one was humble. So why is it, so when we look at me and Mark, we're sitting down, we're like, why is it when we did this business, why did that business win? When we did this business win, we're able to still have exponential growth in each business that we own. Why are we winning? First one is humble. Humble is just teachable, coachable. We're not the know-it-alls. We'll be the last people that will ever be like the know-it-all. There's nothing worse than a know-it-all that doesn't know it all, that thinks they know it all. It's awful. You guys know that person. That person that's a narcissist that you hang out with, and you're like, after 5 minutes, you're like, I can't do this anymore. Like this is draining my whole entire energy because they're so narcissistic and they know every answer. They just happen to know everything. No one knows everything, and I'm far from knowing everything. Me and Mark will always be humble enough to know that there's always going to be a better way. Always. There's always going to be a better way. We have to be coachable. So if you are a black belt, maintain a white belt mentality. Make sure you're always coachable, teachable, that you're always going to grow along this path of personal development, and there's not a destination. That's the best part about personal development. Tony Robbins, big guy, right? This guy came up to him, little guy, because everyone's little next to Tony Robbins. I was with him in Vegas about 3 years ago, and when he put his hand on my shoulder, I was like, geez, like that's an arm. Like his hand was just... and it like weighs down your shoulder. He's a big, big, big dude. I actually partnered on a deal with Tony Robbins where he brought me a check for $50,000. Coolest moment ever. And there was only about 80 of us total in the room. Super, super fun experience to meet Tony Robbins at like a close setting. Not like what is it? UP, Unleash the Power Within, UPW, or any of the events he has. This was a closed event by invite only. Cool event. Big dude. This guy comes up to him and says, I want to be who you are. Tony looks down and says, and when you get there, you'll be who I was. Even Tony's on this journey to become someone better each and every day. So our purpose, what are your values? Ours was humble, honest. We won't do shady business. At the end of the day, we've had to back out of contracts because it was in the best interest for that seller. We had one specifically just a few months ago where the seller called us and she's like, the only way out of this situation is selling the home, but I don't want to sell the home. My druggy son is still living in the home, and it's the only way I can finally say he'll never show up, break into the home, live in the home. It's the only way I can get him out of this home. Like, I'm sick of it. Even though I love this home, I don't want to sell it. So we're getting ready to buy it, and about 3 days before, he moves out, and he ends up going like cross country, like blacklisted, has no idea. She has no idea where he's at, but he's like, I'm never coming back to this house. And she's like, hey, I'm fine with you guys putting like a notice of interest on my home. So if I need to sell because my son comes back, like you guys buy it at that point. But as of right now, with him being gone, my problem's solved. But she made this clear up front. We could have moved through on this contract because once it's under contract, that protects us, the buyer, not the seller. That means we can move through if we wanted to. We didn't. We said, this makes perfect sense. We let her out of the contract, even though that deal would have probably been a $45,000, $50,000 deal to us. Why? Because we're honest. We're always going to make sure that the person is going to be in a better place as a result, and it was better for her to have that home. Third one is heart for others. So I want you to think through this. This game is not about finding deals. Really, it's all about loving individuals better than your competition. When your competition, a phone call comes in, it's natural for your competition. You hear it all over YouTube University that you just ask these simple things and you start spitting out the benefits. We buy homes fast cash. We can close in 7 days or less. We can do it with no agent fees and no closing costs. We can blah, blah, blah. And it's just benefit, blah. Like it just spits out. Everyone can say the same thing over and over and over again. How do we differentiate ourselves? It's how do we present it in a solution versus a benefit. Here's the difference so I can give you some action. When you're sitting in a home and they are like, yeah, we need to sell our house quick. Oh my gosh, this is benefit. Oh my gosh, you called the right people. We can close in like 7 days or less. I mean, you pick the date and we'll close. And also on top of that, if you need like a dumpster, we can bring a dumpster. We can provide a dumpster. There's not going to be realtor fees. There's not going to be closing costs. And you haven't even heard if any of these things even matter to her. What if it's like a clean house and like dumpster? Why do I need a dumpster in my driveway? I don't understand what's going on, because we haven't even taken time to listen to what even the real problem is. But what if we could do it in a solution that's more like this? So it sounds like, remember, you're recognizing the emotion, the pain. It sounds like what you're really looking for is someone that can close on this in, I mean, you tell me, is it like 7 days or less? Yeah, like yesterday. So if I'm able to close on this property in 7 days or less, would that be a benefit? Would that help you? Like, would that solve this problem? Yeah. Do you think you can close on this in 7 days or less? I'm going to put it on there. I'm going to at least mark it down so that when we sit down and we talk numbers, I know what you need to have done to really get you off to plan B. Can you see the difference? I'm still pitching as this if I can close in 7 days. Now they go down the road and they say, thing is, I don't really want to pay realtors. I don't want to pay closing costs. I don't have any money to bring to the table. Benefit would be like, don't worry about it. We got you covered. I got this, blah, 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 blah. Or you can say, so if there's going to be no realtor costs, meaning we don't have to pay any real estate fees, and it sounds like you need someone that can cover closing costs. Yeah. So if I'm able to cover your closing cost, is that something that really helps out here in this situation? I just want to make sure I understand you right. Yeah. Do you think you could? I'm going to jot it down. We're going to put this all together because ultimately I want this to be a win for you. I need this to work out for you for it to work out for me, right? And you're just building out this if plan. You're building out a platter. I remember sitting at grandma and grandpa's table. They're no longer with me, but old school Thanksgiving. We don't carry this tradition anymore. It was a big platter in the middle that you'd kind of just share food on. I'm not talking about like the spinning board or anything like that, but just there was everything in the middle, veggies and stuff. And there's a platter and it had all these different foods that everyone would come to this table and you'd eat. We don't do that anymore. We don't have that nice of a tray. I mean, it was a nice tray too. We just kind of don't care about those trays anymore. Well, because of this, there was that platter. I want you to think about that as you're in the appointment. We're building out a platter and we're adding now the veggies, the meats, the dips, all these things every time. So you need to close early. You're building out a platter. Oh, no realtor costs, no closing fees. We're building out this platter. And then you're able to present, okay, so if I'm able to do this, you're more presenting, what can you do? What's the price point you're putting on this? What does that help you do? What is that worth to you? If I'm able to do this, present this platter to you, I'm able to fulfill that. What is that worth to you? And you let them put the price tag on it. That way it's no longer this one and done. I go in and say, sorry, I've got to buy it for $120. You just kicked yourself out of the door because that sounds definitive. That sounds like that's my offer and that's it. If you can't go that low, then that's it. But what if we could present it in a different way where we're saying, the market would probably tell me, who did I just blame? The market. My guess is you've probably talked to other investors, right? Yeah, I've spoken to a few other investors. My guess is the other investors were around 120. Who did I blame? The other investors, right? And then they say, yeah, they were pretty low. So is that a deal if we could come around that price? No. Now, here's the thing you have to do to get good. You have to have an anchor, right? They're going to have a kite, and they're going to say, I want this much money for a home. How many have been on appointments where you're like, what, Zillow? That's even higher than Zillow, and Zillow's off. Like, this is high. Where are you coming up with this? That's right. And you got this kite that they fly, and we got to drop an anchor, right? If you're familiar with Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. Have anyone read that book? Phenomenal book. It would tell you on an anchor is really supposed to do two things. What is it? Do you guys know? Kind of. Should solicit a no. So you want to say an anchor where they're like, no. You don't want a yes. That's a bad sign. You want no. No is the beginning of all negotiation. And it has to be unrealistic. That's number 2. So it has to solicit a no and it has to be unrealistic. What does that look like? So the market would have me around 120. I can't do 120. What did I just get? Unrealistic, and I just got my no. Okay, so now I have them negotiate against themselves. What does that look like? Instead of saying, Sorry, that's where I have to be. That's definitive. Kicked yourself out the door. They're going to bring in the next investor. Okay. But tell me this, how close can you get to that number? Well, we could probably go to like 160. Who just negotiated against himself? Themselves, right? I didn't say the price. They did. All I'm suggesting is here's probably what the market's offering. Here's what probably other investors are offering. How close can you get to that number? And then they start putting a weight on, here's the platter. Okay, so let me understand this right. 160, and at this point, you really want me to close in 7 days or less, and you start going over those benefits that they were asking for, those solutions, right? And you start to negotiate a little bit better. Hopefully that little tip gets you a little bit difference of heart for others and how to really get in with people and how to really work with people. If your mom called you or your dad called you and said, son, we're going through a divorce, would you say, well, mom, how many rooms, beds, and baths do you have in your house? Can you imagine if you said that to your mom and dad? We're going through a divorce. Mom, how many square feet is your home? I'll help you sell it. What? But that's what we do in the investment world. I hear people do this all of the time. Or our team will go in and the seller will be like, this last group was a joke. Like all they cared about was the deal. Because they probably just went in and said, so how many rooms, beds, bath? When's the roof been in place? I could give two craps about anything about the house. I honestly just care about the individual. Man, that must be tough. If it was my mom and dad, I'd be like, Mom, Dad, what does that look like for you guys? What are you going to do? You guys can't afford 2 mortgages. What are you going to plan on doing? And I'd be there with compassion to help my mom and dad to plan B. Would I not? Right. Anyone would. So why don't we do that with our sellers? How do you get into a different mindset where you're literally serving them like your mom and dad bringing you a problem, and you will be 90% better, or you're better than 90% of your competition. Your competition cares about the deal, period, the end. You've got to kill yourself from the deal and just genuinely serve those people. And the byproduct is you get a home that it's off market at a discount. Does this make sense? Now, it might sound fluffy. You might be, Cody, does it really work? I've been in business now 8 years, and this year is going to be just as strong as last year. It's a fantastic model. We outserve our competition. So purpose, write down your values. The fourth one is hunger, by the way, on that H. So that's the fourth H, hunger. That's something I can't teach. That's something internal. So when we're looking for team members, now why do I have these values first and foremost? I have to have these values because if I don't know why I win, then how on earth do I know who to have on my team? Right? And everyone's like, oh, he's a golden closer. That guy's got like the gift of gab and closes anything. I know a lot of people have the gift of gab that are in the prison. Does that mean I'm going to hire them up? Right? There's people that have gift of gab and they're locked up. Does that mean they're a culture fit because they just know how to close contracts? No, absolutely not. So I need to know my values so that I can now attract the people that have those same 4 H's in their life. Then we're getting a culture fit. Culture is 60% of when we hire a team. Culture is 60%. 40% is the skill level and if they have that coachability. That's only 40%. Meaning if they don't fit culturally, they can't even have a job at our place anyways because it's not going to work. That's 60% of our weight when we hire someone. So find out, why do you win? So you know what you're looking for as you're scaling. But more importantly, so at the end of the day, you can measure if you're winning. How many people have heard from the world that we live in? You're winning when you drive a fancy car. You're winning when you have a 10,000 square foot home. You're winning when you have $1 million in the bank. That's how the world would define success. And you're going to hear this over and over again. I would say be the black sheep that is completely different from that definition. It's an awful definition. And I would define success for how loyal you are to your values. So if you don't know your values, then how do you know what to be loyal to? But once you know your values, every night, I can now sit down in a journal moment. I can pull out my Remarkable and just do a journal entry. And I just sit there and measure myself. Was I humble today? And I just write down some ways where I was humble today or ways that I could improve on being more humble today. I'm going to write down, was I honest today? Did I have a heart for others today? Did I still have that drive and hunger to get up and go get things done today? That's how I measure if Cody's winning each and every day. That means I can win every single day. But if you attach a win to if I do a deal today or not, there's going to be a lot of days you're going to feel like crap. I don't want to feel like crap. I want to feel excited every day. I want to feel like I'm winning every single day. Just redefine what success looks like. And if you stay true to those values, the byproduct is you're going to do the deals that you want to do anyways. Does this add up? Does this make sense? Okay. Let's go with the second P. And that is personal development. And I want you to think when you look at this, what does that mean? What does it look like? What is some keystone habits? And I actually want to get some habits in your life. What are the habits that you feel like, do you guys know what the keystone is? So when you see the arch, where's the keystone? The keystone, yeah, there you go. There you go. And the keystone is what piece of that arch? The very top and center. You pull that out, boom, it all collides, right? It all crashes. But if long as that keystone's there, the rest of those blocks stay in place, okay? Tie that to a habit. What is the keystone habit that when I do this one habit, it kind of takes care of the other habits during the day? Does anyone have any special habit where you're like, man, I just feel good today when I do this habit. I feel good on the days that I do this habit. What's that habit? Gratitude journal. I love that. I do that every morning, all right? 3 things I'm grateful for. Just a simple process and a winnable process, right? Atomic Habits talks about making habits simple at first, like 2 minutes. It should only take 2 minutes. Otherwise, you made it too hard to probably actually turn into a habit. So 3 things you're grateful for. Anyone can do that. What other habits? What's a keystone habit?
Making my bed.
Making your bed. Yeah. I've heard a talk by I think it was like a general or a corporal, like in the military, talk about making your bed. What's the principle behind making your bed? Why is that your keystone habit?
Keeping your life organized.
Keep your life organized. I mean, if you'll take the time on this small detail of making your bed, what's the chance you're also going to take care of the details throughout that day as well, right? It's awesome. Any other habits?
Meditating in the dark.
Meditating in the dark, specifically in the dark? Okay. Well, how's that your keystone habit? What about meditation that then unlocks the rest of your habits for the day?
I choose to meditate in the dark because personally I'm afraid of the dark. So if I'm in the room totally darkness, I kind of feel afraid. It gives me like anxious and everything. So I'm focusing on meditating in my weaknesses point, focusing on what is going to be my success and what I want in my life.
Yeah.
So if I can fight against that, I know that I can win my day by day.
That's awesome. So no haunted houses for you. Or me, by the way. I don't care to go to them. Okay. I love that. Meditation.
I'd say time with my wife and children.
That's fantastic. Is there something that sets you up where you're able to do that in the morning as well, so that habit has been like, man, when I'm focused and present in the morning, it also helps me? Or is this something like in the evening, or when is that time with wife and kids?
So I don't do money making activities until after I'm not with them.
That's so cool. What time is that?
Let's say around 8.
Okay.
So I just spend the whole morning with them.
That's fantastic.
And then I get the afternoon after I've done my calls.
I love everything you just said. What does that do for you in the sense of, let me word this better. You can go from 7 to 8 with your kids and just say, I was with your kids and not be present. How are you present with your kids? Because I always like learning from people.
That's a good question. So I actually...
Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you can be somewhere and not be present. Is everyone aware of this?
My wife has showed me that.
Okay.
I observe them because most of it's them eating or me putting their shoes on, like just the simple stuff that happens in the morning. So
Yeah.
it's observation because it's my experience.
Yeah.
I experience them and
Okay.
come up to me, hug me, love me, do whatever they want.
That's awesome. A key. Yes.
Not having my phone on me when I'm with my wife or my kid.
My new one as of a month ago is when I come home, this goes in the office. I now have every room in the house where it's one space, one use. If you want to like really tone in on what you're doing during the day, one space, one use, meaning when I'm in the kitchen, that's for like eating, that's for like family conversations. This never, ever better be in the kitchen. It never better be in the living room either. The living room is kind of like same thing, social networking with our family, if you want to call it for a business term. That's our time to get together. And that's also my thinking chair is aptly to be in that room. So I also don't make phone calls, and I also don't do certain things that are in that chair, because that chair is like when I sit in it, I'm like, this is my zone. This is how I get my flow state, like get my thinking going, right? Then I have my office that is like when I need to make phone calls, text, I physically have to remove myself from whatever room I'm in, and I have to go to that office to find my phone, to make that phone call, to make that text. One space, one use. And it's been profound, the experience.
With your children, observing what you're doing work-wise and all of that, because naturally they learn through action.
Yeah.
All of that. How do you bring them into that so they can still learn and see what you're doing with you being present?
Yeah. So there's going to be Zoom calls I'll set up. So Intent. I have a, and by the way, ask questions. I don't have to go through all 4P. This could go forever. So I actually would love to see how I just better serve you, to be completely honest. Warren Rustan, this pedigree on this guy is phenomenal. He used to play for the Warriors. He was on like he wasn't like executive president, but he was like the board. Like he was President Ford's like right-hand man. I mean, this pedigree from this guy is crazy. You go out to Tucson, Arizona, and he has this plot of land that's 20 acres, and it's all plotted out, and each one of his kids has X amount of acres, and he's built this community that's just for his family. Like, it is the coolest thing alive. The guy is so intentional with every minute he's awake. It's not by chance. It's not by happen. It's not by, let's just see what this day brings me. No, he knows what the day is going to bring him because he's already prepared at the beginning of the day what he's going to accomplish that day. He's very intentional. So back to the, how do you do this? It's intentional. So what I do is, like, if I'm at the corner of my bed and I wake up, I'm just laying down. What I'll do is I'll swing my feet over. I'm still sitting on my bed. I'll just put my feet on the ground so I'm grounded. And then I'll just sit there, and I'll sit there for 3 to 5 minutes. And I'll just, whether my eyes are closed or whether it's open, and I just ask one question: who needs me on my A game today? So this is kind of getting into this, because it'll help me kind of present, like, I'll kind of think through my day. What does my day look like? And all that also goes with part of my planning of my 20-20-20, part of my 20s planning. But I'll sit there, and how does this serve me? My little daughter was 8 or 9 years old at the time. She's now 13. She comes home, and there's a note in her backpack that she had wrote. It's like a little paper she had wrote. And she was writing about how I feel like school's maybe not for me. I don't feel like I'm being seen. She's like, I go there, and some of the people are just really rude, and I've tried to be kind. I've tried to invite them to do things, and they're just really, really like rude back. And I just don't feel like I'm being heard, being seen. And I remember already, I'm like tearing up. I was like crying. Me and my wife were reading this letter. And then it gets worse. She says, and then I come home, and I feel like I'm not being seen here at my house either. Guys, that's the worst note a dad could read. I was heartbroken. I was literally crying. So the next morning I swing my feet over and I said, who needs me on my A game? And instantly in my mind comes the thought, Kenley. Kenley needs you on your A game. So now there's an awareness. Kenley needs me on my A game today. So I go out to the kitchen, and she's eating breakfast already. And Hayden comes down. He's about 2.5 years younger than Kenley. And he says, Dad, did you see me at baseball? When I hit that ball, man, I smoked that ball so far, didn't I, Dad? And there was an awareness. Because I took time to have intention, Kenley needs me on my A game. How do I plug in Kenley? So I'm already sitting here thinking ways. Let's find the great way today to plug in Kenley. She's eating cereal over here. He's coming down the stairs. I said, Hayden, that's awesome. Do you know why? It's because Hofhines are winners, right? You got to build up whatever your values are. I'm like, Hofhines are winners, right? You went out there and you did great. Do you know who else is fantastic? Kenley. She's a winner too. She's the one that at silks, she's an aerialist, so she's the one that breaks my heart every time she goes up 25 feet and starts flipping down on these silks. And I'm like, she's phenomenal. Isn't she phenomenal? Like, you're just like your sister. You're so good at what you do because you have the same characteristics as your sister. And I look over, and Kenley's doing this. And she's just smiling from ear to ear, right? Because I had intention that day. She was at front of sight, front of mind. She wasn't feeling seen in her own home. It's an awful feeling. Now, what do I have? I have time to just sit there and just pity myself, or I have time to act, be intentional throughout my day to build Kenley up because Kenley needs me. And that's little by little. So when I go speak on stage, I'll try and bring one of my kids along, and it'll usually be the olders. The youngers, it'd be a train wreck if it was just me and then my 6-year-old's running around. No, but I have my 15-year-old and 13-year-old. I just barely took Kenley, my 13-year-old, down to Tampa, and she spoke. So I made it very intentional. I'm like, hey, we're going to share Hofhine's family values. Are you cool sharing that? And she's like, yeah. And she shared our motto. And I'm like, okay, there's going to be 250 people in the audience. Are you cool with this? And she's like, I'm cool with this. So I prep up, set up the stage. She comes out and just knocks it out of the ballpark, shares Hofhine's family motto, and just does incredible. Made it so hard for me to actually follow. I was like, okay, steal the show. Like, the whole audience is erupting, then back to me and it's silent again. Like, she did so good. Were you there? She did so good. So just find ways to, so not everyone works out of the office. Not everyone owns their own company. I get that. So find ways to then bring them into what you do. So maybe that's one of your strategies at dinner. I always will sit there and instead of like, just like, how was today? I don't really, I mean, it's a question, but I don't really like that question. I'll ask questions like, who was kind to you today? Or who were you kind to today? And you start asking the right questions to intrigue the right conversations. Be like, how will that serve you? Like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Like, here's how I do things in my business. And I just bring in my business and try to involve them in that. Your example, your action will speak louder than your words. So again, here's the cool part. My 6-year-old came in, I was in the kitchen. This is about 3 weeks ago. So a week after I made the goal, it's only one space, one use. I have my phone and I'm on the phone because no one was at home. So I'm on the phone in the kitchen. My 6-year-old comes in from school, runs in, does, Dad, you're not supposed to have your phone in here. And I was like, oh, like son of a gun. Like I just got busted by my 6-year-old. I'm like, you're right. I'm supposed to be in that room. So I ran back there. But I even let my family know what my rules are. So it's not just, I did this with my business partner. So it's not just Mark that knows this. My wife and my kids know this so they can hold me accountable. And my 6-year-old caught me and held me accountable saying, no, this is not your room for the phone. It's over there. The actions will speak louder than words. I hope I'm even going down a road. Remind me your name. Ryan. Get very aware and clear with what you want for the day. Get intentional. Am I perfect at it? I'm not here professing I'm perfect at it. I'm still working on my intent every day where I don't let the day run me. I run the day and then find ways to just plug in my kids. My kids and my wife mean everything. And for those, I'd ask you, what is the most important in your life? And then the best way to ask to like show me that that really is true, show me your calendar. If it's not scheduled, it doesn't happen. We can say, oh, no, I know I'm going to be here at 4 o'clock. If your calendar doesn't say that, there's a chance it could be 4:30, 5, 6, or never. If you don't schedule it, it doesn't happen. Men, we are the worst at this. We have to understand that we're not multitaskers. We're far from it. And second of all, if it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. Every day on my phone, Ryan, I put a text that alerts me at 11:50, send a text to Wendy at 12 of just like some buildup. Wendy's my wife. So at 12 every day, she gets a text every single day from me, and it's a new thing. But if I didn't schedule it, I promise you I would miss days, even though I've been doing this for over a year now. So if it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. That's the other thing. So if you have some kind of, go with your first thoughts. I know we're not talking about real estate, so forgive me. Go with your first thought of what goes to your head. I'm telling you, whether you believe in a God or not, I do. So let's say if you don't, let's just go universe. Let's go with karma. Let's go with energy. Whatever you want to use for your higher source, totally fine with. If I can, I'm going to just speak openly for just myself, but you tie it internally how you want to. I believe God has a perfect plan for Cody Hofhine, Cody's family, and I believe he wants us to know what that plan is. And I believe he's actually talking to us more than we think. It's just, are we listening? And so as I ask those questions, who needs me on my A game? That first thought that comes in my head, act on it. Do not let time lapse, because what I have learned is the second thought comes in. You haven't spoken to that person since high school. Oh, you're right. This will be weird. I haven't talked to that guy since high school. This is going to be awkward. Then the third thought comes in. Why don't you do that after you do this? I can't tell you how many times when I have done it, just drop everything when that thought comes in my head, because I'm not smart enough. I'm not intelligent enough to have these off thoughts come to my head and just tell me, Cody, call this person. Cody, go do this. I'm not smart enough. I'm not intelligent enough. This is who I believe God saying, someone needs you and you got to stop what you're doing and go do it. And I just go acting upon it. And then you realize sometimes, maybe not all the time, how necessary that moment was that you broke it right then and you actually acted upon that prompting. It's game changing. Your sellers need that as well, by the way. You're going to have this weird thing that says follow up with so-and-so, and you're like, I've talked to this dude 55 times. 56 isn't going to change anything. Like, just hard as rocks, just a attitude of ice. Like, it's not going to go anywhere. And then 56, they're like, I'm ready to sell. You have to act on those first thoughts, because the second thought says, you've already made 56 cold calls a day. 57 is not going to change anything. And the second thought comes in. The third thought comes in. Don't listen to the second and third thought. Act upon the first thought. And I'll promise you the first thought is usually an uncomfortable thought. And I will tell you, if you're not uncomfortable, I don't think you're on the right path anyways. Comfort is not the way. The obstacle is the way. Ryan Holiday has a great book, The Obstacle is the Way. You guys, the greats out there say the same thing. They just say it differently. And once you experience that you got to be uncomfortable the rest of your life, you're going to win big. You can't be comfortable. You've got to be uncomfortable. I have to wake up at 4:45 every day so I can make it out to my workout Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And he beats my butt for like an hour and a half if I'm lucky, 2 hours. And I'll look down at the watch. Chris, what is like our average calorie hit on that hour and a half? 1,500 is the lowest, and I've had it as high as 2,400 in this workout. I'm drained. It's called TAT, Total Athlete Training. Christian Sandoval. Let me know if you want to hook up. I'll introduce you. I'm not a influencer for him, nor do I get an affiliate. But if you want to get in shape, I'm telling you, the best thing you could do is what's called forced optimization. What is it you want to do? If you say, I want to be fit, I'd say pull out your credit card, find a personal trainer, and swipe the card for 6 months so that you are, the cheddar's in the game. Like you're in the game now. You're not going to not show up. You just paid for 6 months. Force optimize what you want in life. If you want to have an incredible relationship with your spouse, significant other, then I would suggest that you already pull out the card and you pay for, me and my wife do this all the time. I've already paid for the next 6 months for 2 massages each every single month at Elements Massage here in Sandy and the one in South Jordan. It's just force optimized. 6 months, tell me the bill, perfect. I'm not going to not show up to those massages, but how many times that when it's like, man, I need a massage. I've got this tonight. And you start to justify, right? Couples massage every other week and it's swiped for 6 months. I have to. Why? Because that's force optimized and I've already paid it. So I'm not going to not show up, right? So just optimize. How do you optimize? Make habits easy. Make it where it's actually harder to do the bad habits than it is the easy habits. The easy habits have the reward is not for like 5 months, 6 months. If I work out today, I'm not going to see the fruits of it for like 8 months, 10 months, 12 months. That's how you know if you're doing a good habit. Because the bad habits is I can eat. My wife brought home last night from the store the Snickers ice cream bars. Guys, these are deadly for Cody Hofhine. When I sniff that wrapper, I'm already like, I want 6 of these things, right? The ones that give us instant gratification, like that Snickers ice cream bar, that's probably a good sign it's not a great habit. Like, I want you to think about habits. There's a cost up front. Like the cost is in the present for good habits. The reward is not for like 6 to 8 months, 10 months, 12 months down the road. Bad habits, the cost is down the road. You smoke a cigarette and you're like, man, but I eased my anxiety. And you got that instant gratification, but 5 years from now you have cancer, right? Do you see the opposite, right? You have this instant gratification in bad habits that the results of the bad is going to be down the road. Good habits, man, this is hard as crap. And I'm looked in the mirror after this workout today. I look the same. I stepped on the scale. I weigh the same. In fact, I'm a pound heavier because now I just absorbed all this water. But 10 months from now, you're going to look in the mirror and be like, oh, okay. I see where you're coming out. Like, I see, like you're getting stronger. That's how we know good and bad. If it's instant gratification, there's a good chance you're doing the wrong habit. Good chance. Not always. I think service has a great payoff instantly, things like that. But for the most part, bad habits pay you now, and then later it's going to be awful. Good habits don't pay you now, but pay you later. Does this make up? Other questions? I feel like I want to go round robin for a second before just going back to this.
Maybe you said, I couldn't remember. So the P's that you were going over, there's purpose. Were there others?
Personal development,
That's right.
professional development, and people. So those are the 4 P's why me and Mark win. Purpose. Yep, purpose. Why am I doing what I'm doing? It's like the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. She comes to a fork in the road. She has no clue what she wants out of life. So the Cheshire Cat pulls up, and I don't know it really well. I thought that was the weirdest Disney movie of all. He pops up, and she says, which path should I take? And he says, I don't know. It depends where you want to go. And she says, I don't know where I want to go. He's all, then it doesn't matter which path you take, right? This makes sense. Most entrepreneurs, I'm saying most, above 50% entrepreneurs I get to talk to on a daily basis have no clue where they want to go. Any road will take you there. Any road will take you there. But those that have a purpose and they know what they want to accomplish in life, you'll come to a fork in the road and you'll be like, this one gets me closer to my purpose. This one takes me further away from my purpose. I'm going down this road. And they're very clear on what path they're taking when they have troubles, trials, tribulations pop up, they know which path's going to get them closer to where they want to go versus this one's going to take me away. And now they have this awareness. Don't be the individual that doesn't know where they're going. So that's purpose. Personal development, make sure you're becoming 1% better. If you're becoming 1% better today than you were yesterday, money's going to chase you. I know that sounds crazy. You're like, Cody, that's just not true. It is beyond true. I have no college degree. I'm not professing, by the way. I'm so wealthy. I'm like 100 millionaire, not even close. But money chases those that work on themselves. That is a fact, 1000%. You want to be rich, you want to have more money than you can think of, then you better come up with a huge why on how many people you're going to bless, because the market will reward you for the value you put out to it. It's not luck. It's if you want to be a millionaire, put out $1 million worth of value to the marketplace, and the marketplace will pay you $1 million. You can't do that value transfer unless you're becoming someone better. Does this all add up? You part of Family Mastermind?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So my Matt Andrews a beast.
Loved your speech in March with your daughter.
Yeah. Oh, so you're there too?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had multiple people get to witness that. Okay. Look at the hair's changed since that speech. And then the second one is third one's professional development. I want you to think of that in the words of like delivering magic. I talked about this in Tampa. Deliver magic. You've got Lagoon that's ran by a bunch of 15-year-olds, and you're wondering if they actually secured the seatbelts. When they push that button, you don't know on the flip if you're falling out or if you're staying in. You hope you're staying in, but it's ran by a 15-year-old. There's nothing magical. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't really talk to you, so there's no interaction. There's no theming. There's nothing. It's just a theme park. You go there for rides. Then you go to Disneyland, and it's like you're hearing this nostalgia, like this music going down Main Street that's already welcoming you. You have cast members in all their own little uniforms. Nothing's all the same. Each ride has their own unique uniform. Every garbage can, if you want to go to detail, every garbage can, depending on which land it's in, is a different garbage can. It's painted specifically for that. I mean, this is the crazy detail Walt was thinking when he went there. His wife was like, but theme parks are ugly. Like, theme parks are dirty. He says, that's my point. Mine won't. Walt, I believe, is one of the greatest visionaries ever. Like, I study that guy because he's an incredible visionary. One delivers magic. One is just ran by 15-year-olds, and it's just, if you have a little bit of time, come on to Lagoon, right? There's difference. Who do you want to be? Because your competition is Lagoon, and there's very few Disneylands out there in your space of real estate. And that is not being rude. That's not judging. That's just delivering the facts. That's just helping you know how easy it is to beat your competition. Most of your competition's Lagoon, and you just need to go be Disneyland. You need to be uniquely different. Give you an example. I told you about this. Go to dinner, and I'm at downtown Christopher's. Anyone been to Christopher's Steakhouse? Was it good for you?
Great.
It was a great night for me. I hope it's great for everyone. It was a great night for me. Ruth's Chris right across the street. Arguably could be a high-end great one too, right? We've been there. We had an experience, and everything was fine. So I'm not saying Ruth's Chris bad. Went to Christopher's for our anniversary, and the first thing when we walked in, our waiter comes out and he says, anything that I need to know about that's special tonight? And I'm like, there's a knock on the good side for this company already, like already asking some awesome questions. I say, yeah, it's our anniversary. He says, awesome. He comes back out again with like waters, comes out the menus, and he says, since it's a special night, can I show you some off-menu items? And I'm like, wow, like, yes. Salespeople are the most easily sold. Sell me. Like, let's hear it. And he starts presenting, hey, there's this tomahawk steak, 32-ounce tomahawk steak. I'm like, you're speaking my language. Like, let's go. And he brings out, so anyways, we have this tomahawk steak. Me and Wendy split it. We get some sides, and we have it. The steak was incredible. I'm watching, I don't know if you knew this, I was watching the guys setting the tables, and he'd look like this, and he'd set the plates down. He'd set the plate down. And I'm like, what is he doing? Like, I'm watching him look under the plates. He's like, oh, it's our symbol underneath the company, going back to making your bed. The crest on that plate faces a certain direction at every seat. It has to be facing. So if the shield would come down like this, it's got a point to him. We don't know that. We don't look under the plate. We didn't even know there was a crest under the plate, right? How many have looked at the bottom of In-N-Out Burger? What's on the bottom of their cup? Anyone? John 3:16, right? It's right there on the bottom of the cup. And how many people didn't know this? One person knew this, right? Okay, it's the details. So there, and I said, why does he do that? Well, if we're willing to get that right, the rest of the night will be right as well. And I'm like you guys are like knocking up this list of like magic. You're not Lagoon. Like I'm getting a Disneyland experience here. I don't have to tie everything to Disneyland, but I just want to give you a difference, right? With the two companies. Then afterwards he says, do you want dessert? And I'm like, oh, we're full, we're stuffed. And he says, well, it is your anniversary and be on us. I'm like, give me that menu. And I go through it and he says, what would you like? We're not creme brulee. For all the creme brulee fans, I'm sure it's good. We just have never been fans of it. We're like, what about this banana bread pudding? And he's like, it's really good. However, I don't think our presentation is that great. And I was like, who is this guy? Like, who is this guy? This guy's the most honest guy ever. He's like, the presentation's off, but it will be the best banana bread pudding you've ever had. Right? He's like, can I offer you a cheesecake if you're not going to do one of these other ones? So we do the cheesecake, ends up being a fantastic cheesecake. Everything was great about the night. Everything was perfect. There was a difference, uniquely difference between that. And I'm not saying Roost Chris bad. The food was great, but that level of detail that that gentleman did at that night, that was top notch. Let me end with this because I don't want to keep you guys super long. And then if you have questions, I'm glad to answer. If you're willing to wait for the rewards, you face less competition and often get a bigger payoff. So as you're at the beginning stages, my 19-year-old's 19 too. As you're at the beginning stages or wherever stage you are, first and foremost, keep in mind, don't compare your beginning with someone's end. Don't look at someone and be like, oh man, he gets to be with his wife 6 hours a day or his kids 6 hours a day. Don't look at that. You can't compare your beginning with someone's middle. You can't compare your beginning with someone's end. There's a season that's going to be a grind. There's going to be a season that's going to be tough. It's okay. There has to be sacrifice. There has to be some kind of grit put in there, some kind of work to get that engine moving, to get that train going in your behalf to move that train. But once that train goes, it's like Darren Hardy says, big momentum starts to help. So you just got to get that first revolution going. Once it gets going, it starts picking up traction and speed. We have to sacrifice. So don't compare your beginning to someone's end. But here's the best part. If you're willing to do it, if you're willing to wait for the reward. So if your ultimate goal, my ultimate goal was for 2023 was I wanted to be out of the office by 2 every day. And most days, Chris, as my testimony on this one, most days I am not in the office after 2, unless there's some kind of meeting, a quarter meeting or a board review meeting, some kind of something for Joe Homebuyer. Very few times am I in there. As of late, Chris doesn't even see me in there until about 10. So I have my morning routine where I'll do the cold plunge, the sauna, I'll do my study, my personal development. I get that out of the way because it's the most important for me, and that's what my clients pay me for. So outside of Joe, when I personally consult other business owners nationwide, they're coming to me for personal development. They're not coming to me for real estate. And so I get paid to do research all morning long. For like 2 hours, I'm like getting fed all this personal development, and then I get to monetize it on the back end for everything I learn. It's the greatest thing ever. I love it. Have you heard this one? The last mile is the least crowded. So think about a marathon. The last mile is the least crowded. Just get to that last mile. Just keep pushing. Don't go for the quick wins. There's no such thing as quick wins. Go for the something that's going to be worth it. Something that's going to pay you in the long haul. That's what we're looking for. Quick wins are cheap. Quick wins are what turn this into a high-paying job and never turn it into a business. I'm not in this to be a high-paid job. And that's where most entrepreneurs that get into this space will do. They'll make $250,000. They'll make $300,000. They'll make $400,000. And then you talk to them and they don't even have energy to talk to you because they're burning the candle at every end. They're burning at the front end, the back end, the middle. They're wearing all the hats. They're doing the dispo and the acquisition and the marketing and my schedule and this. Oh, and I got to go on an appointment. So, sweetheart, sorry I can't make dinner, but it's 8 o'clock, but this is a hot lead. I got to go on this one, right? I would rather have an acquisition manager that can do it 80% as good as me. 80% is 100% freaking awesome. Have you guys heard that from Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time? A great book. Right? He's coming to our office actually November 1st and 2nd, flying in on his private jet. I'm not at that status either. Flying in on his private jet from Canada and will be with us for the day. But he says 80% is 100% freaking awesome. I'd rather have 2 people do 80% of what Cody can do than Cody do 100% of everything. I'd rather have 50% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape, right? That goes back to Mark Cuban. He actually says that. I'd rather have 50% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape. Okay. We have to think big. We have to find ways to do this where you can scale it. I'm not saying you have to be massive. You have to do millions of dollars, but you've got to leverage people. One last concept is I was with John Maxwell. Does anyone know who John Maxwell is? Fantastic person. One of the most God-loving individuals I've ever met. Me and my business partner had lunch with him, and he said, Cody, always remember this as you're speaking to all the individuals that you have with Joe Homebuyer. And he says, don't show me your dreams, show me your teams, because you can accomplish any dream when you have the right team. You are on the right route. He says, train them in personal development. He says, real estate's easy. There's way too much education out there. What's not easy and what you use rare, Robin Sharper calls it the rare air. Being in the rare air of personal development. Develop yourself, commit to that one thing and watch what happens. I promise you real estate just drops in your lap. You'll be miles ahead of your competition, and it will put you in a place where you'll attract A players, where you'll attract high level of money, more income than you ever want, and use that money, I hope, to better not just your own life. That's okay. But there's a point where I believe each one of you are blessed with gifts and talents that if you will commit, whether that be through prayer like I do, or whether that be through commitment in any way you make commitments. I make commitments, me and my wife make commitment that when we start winning, not if, when we started winning, we would give back. And we were tested when we had $500 in our bank account. My brother-in-law, Wendy's brother, was going on a mission. The parents were going through bankruptcy. They had $0. He needed a bike. The bike was $500. It wasn't coincidence, guys. I looked in the bank account, we had $500. It'd be easy to justify, say, we just don't have enough in our bank account to do this. This would be crazy. No, this was the test. This was the test. You said you would help people. Are you going to do it when there's only $500 in your bank account? Because if you can't do it now, you probably won't do it when you have $500,000 in your bank account. This principle starts when you have no money. We bought the $500 bike. I go to work next day as an insurance, and a guy walked into the room and in my office, and he says, I need a commercial policy. And he says, I just live around the corner, and I just saw that you guys have been here for a couple years now. I just want to get a quote from you guys. I quoted up. It comes to $20,000. My commission on it was like 10%. So I got $2,000. This guy doesn't know me from Adam. Is it a coincidence? I don't believe in him. I believe this is payback. Not payback that God owes me, meaning thank you. Thank you. You passed the test. I mean, you took your bank account from 500 to 0. That's awesome. I'll replenish it. Here's $2,000 commission. And the guy went with the policy. It was phenomenal. Maintain your commitments. Be honest. That's part of our why we win. We're honest with ourselves first and foremost, not just with the sellers, not just people that work with us. We're honest to ourselves. We keep commitments. As you keep those commitments, I believe that, again, going back to our whole entire journey and our whole entire plan for each one of us, you guys have a perfect plan made for you. I believe in that sincerely. You have a perfect plan made for you. Are you going to keep honest to it? Are you going to keep your commitments that you're going to make? Are you going to fulfill your side so that you can see that really this path, these opportunities that have come in my life, I don't want to take credit. I feel like all I've done is just enlist the greatest business partner in the world. I enlisted God. So every dollar that comes in, I tithe 10%. I don't think twice about it. Whenever someone that's in need, and if it means it's going to stretch me, great. This is the stretching I need. And then another opportunity gets presented to me, and it's a bigger opportunity than the one prior. So I believe that's how it works. I believe when you're a good steward of the money that you currently have, I believe that will be the lowest problem, the smallest problem you'll ever have. Anyways, hope you got some good takeaways from this. Sorry if you were here like, gosh, I wanted that golden marketing piece. Hit me up on Instagram. I'm glad to share any knowledge with you along the way. But I just want to help you know that that's easy. That's the easy part. What few get is personal development. Work on yourself, and you'll have everything you have ever wanted or desire to want. That's my promise to you. Any other questions?
Give a round of applause.
Okay. Any questions? Anything?
Any questions for me now? That was awesome.
Not a question, but something I just want to add in, something that I was thinking about when you were talking about delivering magic, right? Professional development. And I can't take this as my own saying. This is on the recent podcast with Ed Milet and Alex Hormozi. Are you guys familiar with either of them? So Alex Hormozi, just industry tycoon, multimillionaire, very successful. He talked about when you're speaking with the client, or in this case, related to real estate, when you're speaking with the seller, you've come to a verbal or a written agreement. The second you've done that, that client is already doubting, right? They're already wondering, did I make the correct decision? Am I with the right person? Is this actually going to go through? So rather than overpromise and underdeliver, that's a great thing to shoot for. He simples it out. He says, just meet expectations, right? So one little trick that I loved about this takeaway from this podcast that I saw was to meet expectations, simply reach out with updates to that client. They've already started doubting possibly, right, the agreement that you set with them. Reach out to them unsolicited. They haven't reached out to you. Reach out to them with a text, give them a call. Hey, everything's great. Just wanted to reach out, see if there's anything that you needed. We're still on track for this inspection. We're still on track for closing. Doing that small thing spread over multiple deals, that's going to instill fortitude and their trust with you and the deal. And it's just going to pay off on the back end, right? They're going to write a review. Hey, so-and-so was communicative throughout the whole process. They were able to do everything that they agreed with us, and we had a fantastic experience. So that's a small takeaway that can speak volumes over the course of several deals, is set expectations and meet expectations. And you're not setting them with them necessarily, you're setting them with yourself and then meeting them for your client.
Your seller, we're buying their home, but what are they buying? Confidence that you're going to buy their home. So they're not looking for the best price always. We've been 30 grand less than our nearest competitor, and they went with us because they knew we were confidently going to close on the day we said we're going to close, and there's going to be money in their account. So that's the other thing. They're buying confidence. That's their number one asset. Like, that's what we've been trained since school. Our number one asset is our home. So if that's true, then we got to treat that with respect. And what they're looking for is not necessarily the highest, but the best offer. The best offer does not be the highest offer. The one that they say, I'm certain this individual's closing on my property, that's who they're going